Why are most women not getting Mr. Right? It's a bit more complex than you might think, and it's also more simple than you might think at the same time. Pay attention, walk with me. And when we say Mr. Right, we're obviously talking about that man who's top of the line. You know, he earns well, looks good, he's in good shape, he's disciplined, be a great father, a good leader of a family. The reason that you or women you've observed are not getting Mr. Right is because of your behavior. Let me explain. Number one, it's lack of urgency. And you're thinking, well, urgency, why do I need to be urgent, Marquette? Isn't the man the hunter? Isn't the man the pursuer? Well, yes, that's mostly true. It's generally true. But in the specific situation of Mr. Right, it's not entirely true. When I say that you lack urgency, often women lack urgency because when they've aged a bit, they become jaded and scarred, emotionally scarred. They've experienced heartbreak, trauma too many times, such that when they encounter a man, they're less excited each time. When they encounter a man, they have less faith that it's going to go well and go to where they want it to go, which is long-term relationship, ideally marriage. Inasmuch as that's the case, they're not putting forth as much of an effort. They're not giving as much sacrifice. They're kind of holding back because most of the relationships they've engaged in have not worked. And in as much as that's the case, they don't want to overinvest and be disappointed yet again. So as the woman ages and becomes jaded, scarred, and her attitude is soured, she's making less of an investment, thereby ensuring that she's going to get less back. She's putting in less, so she's getting less back. Now, here's the ironic part. You're dealing with Mr. Right. Mr. Right might not only be the right man for you, but he's probably the right man for a lot of women. There are a lot of women that view him as an ideal. So in as much as he is an ideal, he has a lot of options. And given that he has a lot of options, he's going to have low tolerance and high expectations. And so if you're failing to meet his high expectations, he has low tolerance. He's going to get out of there. He's not going to regard you well. He's not going to treat you well. Therefore, things won't flourish. There you go. So that's the first piece, is that your age, your excessive experience are all things that are going to detract from your ability to be successful, because it's going to change your mentality over time and the way that you interact with that man. I mean, if you've dated a bunch of guys, some of them cheated on you, lied to you, physically abused you, those are all things that make you increasingly suspicious of the new guy. Now, Mr. Right, he might be a guy who doesn't drink, doesn't use alcohol, would never lay a hand on a woman, would never tell a lie to a woman, but you're viewing him with suspicion and you're treating him like that. So basically, you found the guy who has no criminal record, completely innocent, but you're treating him like a criminal. So that's how you're self-sabotaging. Secondly, you're in a situation wherein you're the woman, he's the man, you need to be feminine, he's going to be masculine. There's a lie where people talk about masculine energy, feminine energy. Nonsense. If you're a woman, you should always be in your feminine energy. You should live there. There's really nowhere else to live. If you're a man, you're always masculine. Full stop. Pride and being prideful, it's often spoken of as a bad thing, but this is actually not the case. Pride is what has men being ambitious, striving for more, trying to make their family name a strong name, making sure that their last name means something. So when you give it to a woman, she receives a true gift. Pride is important for a man. Pride is very detrimental for a woman. Pride means you have a masculine woman. Pride means that you have a woman who's competitive with you as a man, right? She's trying to outdo you, out-earn you, dominate more than you. It's always a terrible thing. Women who are prideful will never be able to secure Mr. Right, because Mr. Right, as I said before, has high standards, low tolerance, because he's in a boss's position. He gets to select women. And remember, if you're a woman that's moving up in age, and by up in age, I mean you're 25 or older, a man who's, all the way up to his 40s, his early 40s, he pretty much can choose all the way down to 18. If he keeps himself in good shape, he's a good looking guy, he's at the top of the food chain. He has a very large swath of women he can select from. So as a result, when you're being prideful, masculine, that's a turnoff for all men. Being competitive, first off, you can't compete. It just makes the man look at you with distaste. And we say, Marquette, do you just mean like if I make more money than him? No, I don't mean that. And if we're talking about Mr. Right, in most cases, you won't make more money than him. But we're talking about competitive on basic things. Like, for example, a woman needs to know how to yield. She doesn't need to compete. What do I mean by yield? For example, I remember one time, and it disgusted me quite a bit. I was dating a young white woman, very slim, blonde, blue-eyed, good-looking girl, very, very slim. And I remember one time we were having a meal, and there were two pieces of salmon, and she gave me the smaller piece. It doesn't really matter, if I'm hungry, we can cook some more food or order some more food, whatever the case is. We're both well off. But just the fact that in her mind, you wouldn't give the man the larger piece, I found that to be very strange and distasteful, almost just like a slap in the face. But also it showed me that she's prioritizing herself as though she needs to be big and strong for some reason. I thought it was really curious. And frankly, if she would have asked me, hey, which one do you want? I'd say, oh, it's your decision. Then, go ahead. If you want the larger piece, go ahead. But to default to hey, take for myself, that's strange. And when we say a prideful female doesn't want to submit to a man. She doesn't want to yield to a man. A woman becomes prideful the more time she lives independently. So the more she's a strong, independent woman, the more time she has in that identity. I don't need no man. She's not living under her father's house. She's unto herself. The more time in that identity, the more we're going to see her cementing an idea in her mind that, I got to do it all myself. So she has her chest poked out. And the problem is that when she comes upon a man, her chest is still poked out, and that's very unattractive to us. We don't want to be in a situation wherein, she's trying to measure herself up against us. And I don't say this speaking, some guys have been in a situation where the woman earns more money than they do. I've not been in that situation, but maybe twice. And in fact, in both situations, neither of those women were prideful. Prideful, I know broke women who are prideful. Prideful is something that is in the personality and doesn't have to do with the economics. Another piece that we need to understand is that when a woman, and these things are all subpoints of the age, the jaded, and the scarred piece in terms of having lack of urgency. Because they're jaded, they're not urgent because they don't think they're going to win, on this particular go around with this guy. They don't know, they're waiting. If you don't make the man a priority, and I mean a priority overall, over your family, over your work, over everything in your life, then you're not going to be successful. And the only reason a woman doesn't make you a priority is when she's been living too long as an independent woman, or she's been raised with bad ideas. Her mother was a single mom, mother was a feminist, father was weak. When that's the case, the truth is that she's going to prioritize work because she's a career woman. When that's the case, she's going to prioritize family because she knows they'll always be there. And in prioritizing all these other things, that man who's very much so a worthwhile man is not going to stick with you because you're not showing him that effort. You're not instilling trust and faith, and he doesn't feel like he's the center for you, and he should. A man is the center of a woman's life because he helps her create family, which is everything to a good woman. For a man, the center of his life is his goal, right? Women say they want a man who can provide. Yeah, well, he has to be hunting down that goal such that he can earn well and he can actually provide. So that's a critical aspect of things, is each person having the right center of their life. And for a good woman, a family woman, a woman who wants a long-term relationship, she wants to be married, the man is the center. He has to be prioritized. And anytime I'm dealing with a woman and I find that she doesn't have a sense of urgency or I'm not her priority, I slide her to the side. I had two situations. This happens a lot with black women in particular. All women do this, but curiously, I've observed that black women seem to have a higher likelihood of deprioritizing the man. And I think probably just due to the high levels of illegitimacy. I don't think it's anything genetic. But I remember one situation with a black woman. I had said, hey, let's meet up. Let's get together. I offered her my time. And for me, it takes a lot of energy, emotional and psychological, for me to say, okay, I'm going to give you my time. I'm going to make this investment in you of time, effort, capital, to spend time and figure out who you are and if you're worthwhile and if we can do something. And then by then she was like, oh, well, why don't we just wait till blah, blah, blah time when we're already going to, come together for this event. And at that point I was like, oh, nope, I'm done. Nope, I'm done. And the strange thing that women don't realize, just as much as a beautiful woman has a lot of inbound interest, a man who is at the top of his game has a lot of inbound interest. So if you want to not be urgent and wait, well, that's not a smart thing, because, if we were to wait a month, 50 women are going to shoot their shot within that month. And I assure you, someone's going to be just as good looking or better looking or more wealthy or be more humorous or easygoing than you are. So it's just not a smart idea. You have to realize where there's value, and you have to go and try to capture the value as soon as possible. It's just not smart at all. Then there was another woman, and this one was even funnier, more comical. This was a Latina. And I said, hey, I'm going out of the country on this date. Let's meet up before then. And she says, okay, well, how do you want to go about this? We had a little bit of discussion. Both of our schedules are a bit tight. And then she says, oh, well, I'll still be here. Why don't we just do it when you get back? Okay, see, again, that's not very smart. First off, when I go out of the country, I book a one-way flight, and I come back when I feel like it, or when I have to go to court or something like that. When there's a requirement that I be present. Otherwise, I come back when I feel like it. I might be gone for 2 months, 3 months, or just might not come back. You just never know. If I'm enjoying myself, I'm staying, or I'm going on to the next country. I have no obligations and I have a lot of capital. So, I'm a free bird. But when she said, oh, I'll still be here. And I was like, you don't live life with purpose. You don't live life with urgency, and family is not critical for you. So you're not trying to get your family established and set up. And I think the one was like in her mid 20s, like 25, 26, which to me is like you're a little bit past my ideal age. So when she said that, I said, oh, well, no, don't worry about it. And she's like, whoa, is there an issue? I was like, no, there's no issue. Everything's working out perfectly. But, by the time I get back, I don't think I'll be interested at that time. And she says, oh, okay, well, that's disappointing. I totally understand. I'm just going to make sure I learn this for the next guy, or the next guy I meet that I'm interested in. I'll be more, be more with it, be more urgent. And in my head, I was thinking, see, that's your problem. You said the next guy. There's not a lot of guys like me. You're not going to meet a lot of guys who are well off financially, have good height, good physical appearance, good physical fitness, good physical hygiene, personality, articulate, humorous, well-known. You're not going to find a package like that consistently. You might never find another package like that, especially as you begin to age. So the fact that she thought like she was going to meet another guy like me, I was like, what planet do you live on? There's not a lot of guys like me. Like, for sure, trust me. You might find a guy who has everything except the good looks, or you might find a guy who has the good looks but no money, or you'll find a guy who has the good looks and the money and he's 5'4". You're just not going to find this package a lot. And I can tell that something's off here, because to you don't have any need to be urgent. And so women, men, I'm bringing this video to you because the reason women, you won't find Mr. Right is because you're not being urgent about it. Mr. Right does not need you. Mr. Right does not need you. And Mr. Right has time. You don't have time. The more time goes on for you, the more you actually need to be urgent. But ironically, the more time goes on for you, even if you are urgent, you're getting less return on your effort, less return on your urgency. So you should already be very urgent. If you're 25 or older, you should be extraordinarily urgent, unless you're planning to live your life as an unattached woman, a promiscuous woman. You don't plan on having kids, or you don't plan on having kids and a husband for the rest of your life, because I can assure you, you're going to end up with leftovers as a woman. And as a guy, I want to encourage you all to be very selective. Selection is key. And me, I don't waste time on beauty. I don't waste time on women who are not urgent, because there's an infinite number of women that are of age and urgent, and they don't have a lot of miles on them. They meet you, they're interested. They have that fantasy of love and that fantasy of family and what could be. They come from strong families. That's where I'm investing my time. So I just want to take out the time to share this with the ladies and the gentlemen. If you have any thoughts or comments below, maybe you've experienced some of these things, or maybe as a woman you've struggled with some of these things, go ahead and comment below. I'd love to hear your feedback. Until next time.